You want to be county executive. Why?
I want to be county executive because I think I have what it takes to serve the people and to get government working the right way. It is time for change, and the combination of my time as a business owner, my experience as a mother, my experience being involved in the community, I can see firsthand what people are going through in these difficult times, and it needs to be addressed. We need help, we need change.
I was looking at your bio, going through it, 15 years in the marketing and public relations industry. Does that prepare you to run a county with a $1.9 billion budget?
Yes, it's not even so much the type of industry, it's just a business in general and the type of people skills that you need. Because at the end of the day, running a government shouldn't be that drastically different in running a business, in the sense that accountability matters. And to me, accountability is what makes or breaks good government versus bad government. And there isn't enough accountability going on in Erie County government. There is issues in areas that need drastic improvement that are just simply not being addressed. Our poverty rate is at an all-time high. Our affordability is the worst it has ever been. A box of Cheerios is $5. And I know that the government can't control the price of goods, but what they can do is control the price and the taxes and help make life a little bit more affordable. They can help try to ease the burden of the taxpayers and say, listen, we know you're going through tough times right now. We know that inflation has made things very expensive, so we're going to tighten our belt so that you can get more money back in your pocket. And that's just simply not happening right now. In fact, the opposite has happened. This last budget, the spend has increased by 9%. They're spending even more money. And we have to have some accountability. We have to take care of the people.
When you talk about government and business, we saw that with Chris Collins. That was his mantra almost. It's time to run government like a business. Some would say it worked, and others would say it did not work.
I'm not Chris Collins. I'm not Joel Giambra. I'm Chrissy Casilio. And you could compare the different types of business that we run, but at the end of the day, you're electing the person. And I know that the type of services that are important for this community, and I also know, like I said, the importance of accountability when it comes to government. So
who do you feel needs to be held accountable?
The government, everybody. It is completely unacceptable that our poverty rate is at the height that it is. It is completely unacceptable that right now there's a 90-day wait for early intervention services just to get an assessment. This is post-COVID things happening. We have one of the worst post-COVID economic recoveries in the entire country. Our car thefts are also one of the highest in the entire country, not New York State, the country. And we're just pretending that those things aren't happening. We're not getting serious about addressing it. The fentanyl crisis that we have, the migrants, where do we begin on the migrants?
We're going to definitely get into that, but when you talk about accountability as county executive, what would you do when it comes to car thefts and the whole fentanyl problem?
It's the first step in fixing a problem is acknowledging that there is a problem. And there has to be a priority in safety, but more importantly, you need to have leadership that is okay to have a spine and okay to stand up to Albany and stand up to the decision makers that are allowing these things to happen and fight, because you represent the people of Erie County. You have to be their voice and you have to fight for the right thing.
What would you say to Albany regarding stolen cars and the fentanyl, the opioid issues that we're having and seeing in Erie County?
I would tell Albany to stop prioritizing criminals, stop prioritizing people that are not New York State residents, and start focusing on the people that you were elected to serve.
Do you not believe that's already happened?
No, I don't believe so in any way, because we can see the problems that are going on. Right now, we have a county executive that is clearly making decisions that appeases Albany first. This is why we have the migrant crisis that we have. This is why 47 people died in a blizzard. This is why we are in a situation where we are not getting the needs of Erie County residents taken care of first. And that needs to change.
Let's go back to this.
Yep.
Because we were talking about the budget and whether or not you are equipped to run Erie County with a budget of $1.9 million. Money, taxes. If you own a home in Erie County, you're looking at your tax bill every year. You don't want to see it go up. So what's your plan when you look at that $1.9 billion budget proposal that the legislature is expected to pass or will vote on at least in December? What would you cut? What would you save? And remembering that the county does put money into services like culturals and libraries and roads.
Yep.
So what would you do?
So first of all, Erie County is collecting more money than they ever have in the history of Erie County. We are paying more money out of our pocket, even with the property tax cuts that have happened recently. We are still paying more money than ever to the county government. Furthermore, there was a Supreme Court case a few years ago that changed how online sales tax were distributed. And so we are also collecting more sales tax than ever before.
But things are going up too.
Things are going up. However, we have been averaging a surplus of 100 million-ish plus a year. It's a combination of a few things. One, not saying we completely eliminate the surplus, but we could cut back a bit, especially, that surplus is for rainy days. We're in rainy days. Affordability is at an all-time mess right now than it ever has. Secondly, we can cut back the number of government employees through attrition. If you were to go online right now, you would see that there are dozens of Erie County jobs that are available. Let's wait and not fill them and see what we can do with the talent at hand. Thirdly, one of the big things that we can do is try to get every department to simply cut their budget by 1.5%. That is not eliminating any service. That is not firing people. It's simply spending more wisely, and I'm asking for a 1.5% cut. And I can tell you, as a business owner and as a mother who's been having to deal with inflation and everything else that's going on, 1.5% is in no way unreasonable to ask the government to tighten up the belt a little bit.
Have you looked at some of the departments where you would say they should probably cut like 1.5%? Because I'm sure when you hear cut 1.5%, some departments are saying, well, that's at least one body.
I'm planning on working with each of the departments if they really feel like it's a struggle, and if they truly feel that they are unable to do that, then we'll have to figure something out. I personally have a hard time believing that they can't find ways to spend more wisely with 1.5%.
Would you be opposed, or could you go on the record and just say, under my administration, I want these cuts, and say for sure that there would be no layoffs? Can you guarantee that?
I am in no way planning on going through and laying anybody off. That is not the priority. The priority is spending more wisely and more efficiently. And
which department has, when you looked at budgets, which department really needs to tighten it up?
All of them need to tighten it up, I'm asking, by 1.5%.
Across the board?
Across the board, 1.5%. It's not unreasonable. And what is happening is that there is this fear tactic where I start being compared to Joel Giambra or Chris Collins, and there's this big misconception that I'm just going to be going through and firing everybody. No, that's not going to happen. I'm simply asking that we spend a little bit more wisely and tighten up our belt. The money that has been wasted through the years simply needs to stop. We need to cut back on the pet projects. We need to make sure that we are spending as efficiently as possible. We also received a ton of funds from the for COVID recovery that was not spent wisely. So it's about priorities. It's about looking at the budget and making sure that we are taking care of a family first agenda, making sure that particularly the services that are going to serve the families and the needs of our children the best is going to take a priority, but then where we can take cuts and spend more wisely is going to be looked at.
Okay, so I get it across the board, right?
Across the board.
Nothing specific as of now.
I am trusting that the commissioners know their departments well enough and will know how things operate enough that they will be able to come up with a plan.
Okay.
But in no way one of the things I have to mention is that in no way am I going to ever act like I know better than anybody. And that's how I've run my business. My business has been successful because I have been able to surround myself with people that are smarter than me and more talented than me. And I plan to do the same thing with county government. I'm going to surround myself with people, commissioners including, whether they're Democrat or Republican. I want to surround myself with the smartest people in Erie County and the hardest working people in Erie County to make it work. I am not going to be micromanaging every single department and making sure that they do what I say and that's it. I'm going to trust them that they are going to make decisions and run those departments that are putting the Erie County taxpayers' best interest first and that they are spending our money wisely. Because at the end of the day, whether it is federal tax dollars, state tax dollars, county tax dollars, school tax dollars, that is your money. That's the money of Erie County residents. It's your money that we are spending on your behalf, and you have a right to have us spend that wisely.
Let's switch to the weather because we're in that time of year. We've already seen our first snow. Last year, as you know, we had that deadly blizzard. And you already talked about the fact that we had people who died, and some of them and their families will tell you they should not have died. Mark Poloncarz said regarding the city's response, because we know that in the city of Buffalo, people were screaming mad. You know, why aren't some of these streets cleared? The county executive said if we have to, working with the state, we will find a way to get through these storms quicker by taking over operations if need be. Should Erie County take over plowing services in the city during big storms?
The big difference between my opponent and me is that he thinks that Erie County is the answer for everything. And that's just simply not the case. The solutions to the problem isn't more county influence, more county government, more county, growing the bureaucracy and controlling everything. There is no reason why we can't have a nice discussion with Byron Brown and the city and work on ways where we can appropriately collaborate and work on ways where we get all of our talented people together to figure out better systems. Again, like I said before, I'm not going to pretend that I know better than everybody in the room, but I can tell you that I'm going to surround myself with people that will help solve this problem. I find that how he treated Byron Brown during that storm was disgraceful. It was embarrassing on an international level. It was, instead of focusing on saving lives and getting dug out, the attention was focused on how Mr. Poloncarz was treating Byron Brown, and that was not the time or the place. So we need to have a good relationship. We need a big restart button pressed on how the county is going to work with the city of Buffalo. And it's not going to be, hey, the county knows better than you.
And putting that aside, though, but when you look and see the city is in Erie County, and if the county can help with plowing these roads,
sure.
Should the county go and do that?
Absolutely. The county is meant to serve the entire, every single municipality, and that includes the city of Buffalo. As far as taking over or, trying to take any responsibilities away from Buffalo, that's not our job. The job is collaboration and working together and coming up with the best plan collaboratively. But of course, if we find mutually that it is beneficial to be of assistance, that's of course something that we should and could look at.
But thinking back to the storm, if you were county executive at that time, would you think that the best thing at that time would have been, hey, we have county plows, they've already taken care of the suburbs, some of the rural areas, we can come in and help? Do you think that would have worked?
That probably would have worked. If I were county executive, I would have had a lot better preparedness in place. We knew about the extremeness of this storm days beforehand. The Monday and Tuesday before the storm, the National Weather Service was calling it historic. And our county executive had contests on his social media of what we should name the storm.
What would you have done, though? Forget about him. What would you have done?
Preparedness. The National Guard should have been in prior to the storm even touching Lake Erie. We should have been shut down easily the night before, but that decision wasn't made because we seem to have prioritized keeping businesses open versus keeping people safe. I would have personally called the National Guard and made sure that they got in. I would have closed the driving ban the night before, and we need better communication in terms of letting everybody know. One of the big problems with the storm, at least that what we saw in Transit Road in Clarence, is that we had people that were traveling in from out of town, from Canada and also coming in from the East Coast, that had no idea that there was a shutdown and that the roads were closed. They thought they were able to pass through, and then what happened is that they got stuck because the thruway was closed, but the other roads weren't closed yet. So what happened is that they were stuck on Transit Road being one of the bigger problems, and then our emergency services were having to rescue them, and therefore it took resources away from the other people that needed rescuing, that needed to get to warming shelters. So the failure in communication in combination with the obvious fact that that our elected leaders did not take this seriously enough needs to be looked at and completely overhauled.
Do you have any new initiatives that you would want to put into place? Like, I know there's been a lot of talk about different alert systems, changing this so that people are more aware. Do you have any plans along those lines?
Well, we certainly need to start using the emergency alert system, because something like this historic storm needs to be shared with everybody to keep people safe. In general, too, there needs to be drastic improvement in communications, especially with the supervisors, and there needs to be preparedness. We need to have a plan in place similar to how there are plans when hurricanes hit, because really, obviously, there are different types of storms, but
Very much so.
that type of protocol of how you prepare should be pretty uniform, where you have a blizzard plan in place. You know what's going to happen with the roads being closed. You have a formula in place where it just is automatically decided. You have systems in place where you know people will be able to stay put, stay safe, and have all the things that they need in order to prepare.
Let's switch topics. The migrant issue. You have been hot about that, highly critical of them coming here.
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, back in May, when this conversation first started, I simply asked for a pause for us to get all of the information needed. We were told that the migrants were vetted. That was a lie. We were told that it was not going to cost Erie County taxpayers a dime. That was also a lie. In fact, just today, I saw a letter from the Maryvale School District saying that they desperately need money, that they are unable to afford what is going on right now. I had there's a teacher in Maryvale that spoke to me saying that she's having to teach her classes in 3 different languages using her own phone and having to Google Translate each one because the resources were not made available and there wasn't enough time to properly staff and get ready for the migrants. We now are paying for the defense of a person that raped somebody in front of a 3-year-old child. We have building damages, we've had larcenies, we've had stabbings. I asked for proper vetting, I asked for the plan, I asked for the cost, and I was called morally repugnant. But what's morally repugnant is that this was allowed to happen and that there's no accountability as a result.
So what would you do?
Well,
they came.
They
right?
came.
So
yes.
what do you do? You're a county executive. New York City sends migrants here. They're on your doorstep. What are you going to do?
So it's the same way of how they got here. They will have the options of going back.
But how? How do you do that?
Buses, the same way they came here.
You would
The same way they came here.
You would get buses or charter buses?
We would do what we need to do to reverse course, because in addition to being lied to, we clearly do not have the proper systems in place to be able to accommodate them. We still do not know the vetting status or the vetting process. We know that they weren't vetted, and now they're here, and now what? What have they done to make sure that they're vetted? What have they done to make sure that we're safe? What have they done to ensure us that tuberculosis isn't being spread among the community, that they're healthy, that all of those different things. So,
well, if there was a serious health issue right now, I think by now we would have known that, right? Because it would be spreading like wildfire.
I hope so.
That we probably would have known.
But you know what? The horse is already out of the barn. And I think it's unfortunate that we were put at a risk where there could have been a health disaster. Thankfully, it seems like it was okay, but there could have been, and we can't be making these decisions after the fact. All of those things should have been thought about before we were all called morally repugnant and we rolled out the red carpet. You know who's not dealing with the migrant situation right now? Almost dozens of other counties, every surrounding county around Erie County is not dealing with this because they had the spine to tell Mayor Adams and to tell Governor Hochul, no, we are not allowing that here. And so we have to reverse course. We are going to, and we're obviously not going to be forcing anybody, but the first step is at least giving them the option to go back to New York City or someplace else that's not in Erie County. It's as simple as that.
Again, I'd still go back to how do you do it? Because yes, they came on buses, but how do you get a bus to say, get on the bus, you're going back, send them to the hotels or wherever they're staying now?
It's not reinventing the wheel. It's the same way they came here. They were not forced to come here. A bus was offered, they got on the bus and they came. Buses are going to be offered, they can go get on and go back. But in the big picture, the money that we are spending right now to accommodate all of this, the schools alone, it is worth that investment of having to reverse course for the big picture because we simply cannot handle this right now. We have a hard enough time getting our kids to school. We have a hard enough time getting a lot of our Buffalo school kids at passing grade levels. There's a teacher shortage. There's police officer shortages.
There are a lot of shortages.
There's a lot of shortages. We need to reverse course and prioritize the well-being of Erie County residents.
So when you make reference to those who have committed crimes, it's less than a handful that have been charged with anything. There are more people who live here who are committing those same crimes than the migrants who have come here. So how do you respond to those who say, hey, you're just picking on these people, they came here, they're looking for a better life. The majority of them are not causing problems.
I find 0 rapes to be where we should have been. There was a woman that was raped. I don't care if it was 1 crime or 30 crimes. I look at it the same. We were lied to about them being vetted, and we need to make sure we are safe. So 0 crimes are acceptable. I don't care about percentages. I don't care if it's a little bit. 0 crimes are acceptable. We need to be safe. We need to prioritize our Erie County residents. As far as comparing, if it's Erie County residents versus the migrants that are committing the crime, they are our residents. We pay for them. We take care of them. They shouldn't be committing crimes either. But it would be nice if we could focus our resources, we could focus our law enforcement on, instead of having to go to the various hotels multiple times a day, that they could focus on our own people and help them not commit crimes. The fact that our crime is so bad, particularly the car thefts, the fact that it's so bad says even more that this is not the time to be adding migrants to the situation because we have bigger problems that we need to deal with first.
A lot of problems, and if you're county executive, you have a lot of issues you need to deal with. But Channel 2 did report this from the New York American Economy, and it found that the foreign-born population in Metro Buffalo increased by 32.3%, seeing over 7,700 refugees resettled in the area in just a 5-year period, and that was between 2009 and 2014. And they contributed $3.1 billion to the Metro's GDP in 2014. That's according to that same report. They have something to offer, don't they?
Sure. I want to be clear. I have nothing against legal immigration. My great-grandmother came here via Ellis Island, and once she passed the health check at Ellis Island, it was good luck. Go get a job, go find a place to live, good luck. It was a very different situation. And I'm not saying that that is the way to go either. I think that's a little tough. But it is completely different situations. We have a failureship in our federal government right now in not controlling the border. I think that what's going on in New York City is telling enough. Governor Hochul said they are getting to the point where they can't afford this anymore. They are spending billions and billions of our dollars. So Legal immigration is a different story. They're coming here under different circumstances, and we can prepare to accommodate them because it's part of our system that we budget for. But when you have people that are coming through the southern border, no matter their story, and I'm very sympathetic to what they may be going through, we do not have the system in place to accommodate 6 million people plus that we don't know like who they are, what their health status is, what they're going to do, besides the fact that they can't work for 6 months, they're given a hotel. I've been traveling all over Erie County. The number of homeless Erie County residents is staggering.
Yeah, I want to get to homelessness in just a minute because that is a problem, and we see
it's a major problem
right in downtown Buffalo. We talked about this also. Erie County, the city, yeah, right? The city of Buffalo is in Erie County. Sometimes you speak with residents, and I've spoken with residents who live in the city, and they feel that sometimes they're ignored by the county, that county issues, county concerns really don't take them into consideration. Have you, during this whole campaign, have you met with inner city residents? Have you talked to them to hear what their concerns are and how you would address it? And then I think back to 514, there's TOPS. And those families.
Yeah.
Have you been over there? Have you addressed any of these individuals?
I have spoken to several individuals, and besides the city, there's also an amazing amount of southern tier towns that also feel like they're getting ignored. Nobody should ever feel like they are being ignored. The county is meant to serve every single citizen. And I know that the town and the cities have different problems, but they can't be ignored, and that's why I'm running. Because really, what is happening? How are these problems being addressed? They're not. I'll tell you this, that one of the biggest problems from the city was how the blizzard was handled, and the snow removal, and the poor communication, and the fighting between Byron Brown and Mark Poloncarz. That's not going to happen anymore. It is about moving forward and coming up with positive outcomes. I want to see tangible differences in people's lives. I want to see the poverty rate decrease. I want to see more people working with good paying jobs. I want people to see less fentanyl on the streets. They have to be addressed. And I'm looking forward to tackling those issues. Again, my plan is I'm going to be surrounding myself with the most talented people in Erie County.
And that's great, but do you have a plan, or have you even talked to these people? Have you walked down Jefferson Avenue or Fillmore Avenue and just talked to the people that you would represent?
Of course.
And what have they told you?
The issues are consistent across the board. Life is unaffordable right now. Everything is more expensive. They do not feel safe. You can't prosper if you're not feeling safe. You cannot prosper if you can't go into a store and worry that it's going to be robbed while you're there, or worried about having your car stolen. We have to get to the fundamental issues, and that is improving safety so that people feel safe and that we start actually acknowledging the problems that have been happening in our criminal system. We need to improve the economy and improve it where you have people that have good paying jobs. We know we have the unemployment rate that is down, but the poverty level is high.
So poverty,
yeah,
what would you do? I know
it all boils down to the economy.
Yeah.
We have to get serious about good paying jobs coming to this area and providing resources for people to be able to work. We can't be encouraging people. One of the big things that I want to do is we have an incredible asset with ECC. There are various trades that we could be promoting and pushing, and big manufacturing jobs. I can tell you right now that, and I know this through my private business and the clients that I work with, that there is a dramatic nursing shortage going on right now. And by nursing, I don't mean RNs, I mean CNAs, LPNs, RNs. We can, through ECC, help educate people, help push those programs. Electricians, plumbers, carpenters. There are various things that we can do to help. Another big problem is the lack of childcare. We want to focus on that because that will help people get back to work. And how we can do that is, again, not having Erie County be the answer, but we can encourage those various businesses to grow and become more available, because the more childcare that we have available. Right now, by the way, I'm saying this as a mom, I have friends that get pregnant and they already have to be on a waiting list, because waiting lists for childcare are a year or two out.
Yeah.
So you can find a job, but if you don't have the childcare, then you're not working, you're unable to do it. So we have to address those issues that are actually affecting the economy and utilize ECC, utilize the weight of the government to be able to support these various businesses to prosper. And then the big picture, we're gonna see a big turnaround in Erie County.
And you talk about ECC, but we also have the Northland Workforce Training Center that is doing a lot when you talk about plumbers and welding and things like that. What about working in conjunction with them, tapping into that? Is that
All
something
of it.
you?
All of it.
Is that part of your plan?
Yes, Harkness programs too with the high schools, all of it. We have to push people to get at least skills that can take them to new levels. And we have the resources, we have the facilities, let's make it happen.
Are you surprised when you see homelessness in Buffalo and across Erie County, more in the city? People are saying it's growing, and
Yes.
I don't know if government has tapped into it to recognize it, but if you see it, what do you think needs to be done from the county?
So I can tell you that the migrant situation certainly doesn't help, because we're putting migrants in hotels, and while we have our own Erie County residents in the streets, I've actually talked to people that work with the homeless community, and it is at an all-time high. You had a combination, a lot of this is happening now from post-COVID, where you have mental health issues at an all-time high. You had people that were evicted because they lost their jobs, but then because of COVID and the lack of eviction going on, now they're evicted, now they have no place to go. You have an increase in drug problems, some can say, and thanks to COVID. So it's about addressing those fundamental issues first and prioritizing those basics. We need to focus on our mental health services more. We need to focus on the skill set and getting people out of their funk. And if we have a better economy, then we will see the homeless population decline, because they will have ways where they can not just have a job, but have a job that's fulfilling, that they can build careers from and really grow and prosper.
I want to hit on a couple more topics, the insurrection. I know they said you misspoke, but I just need you to be clear here.
Yeah.
Do you or do you not believe that there was an insurrection on January 6th?
You know, I have to say that the January 6th conversation has been one of the more interesting things about this campaign. I was pregnant, 6 months pregnant with 2 small children at home during January 6th. I have condemned the behavior of January 6th always and forever. I do not support what they did. I think that the people that stormed the Capitol and caused damage should be properly prosecuted. And it's as simple as that, but they're trying to make it bigger than what it actually is.
Are you aligned with the values of Donald Trump, the way he wants to run the country? Is that the way you feel that Erie County should be run?
That's an interesting question. I don't think about Donald Trump that much. And I think that there's a big difference in being a local, serving the local residents of Erie County versus federal issues. So I would say no. I couldn't even tell you his values and how he decides to run things. So no, I'm planning on running county government as Chrissy Casilio, County Executive. Somebody that is going to make every single decision that puts the best interests of taxpayers first. I want to see the city of good neighbors thrive again.
And that is something that people want to hear. Earlier this week, the county executive joined unions and the sheriff. You probably saw that because up until now, 30 years, age 63, before they can get their full pension, those working in the jail or at the holding center covered under those unions. That's a deal that's been brokered. It still needs the approval of the legislature. Is that something that you would have brokered a deal on?
I think that supporting law enforcement is a top priority in every way. I was very fortunate where I have family that have been involved in law enforcement. I personally have worked with the Erie County Law Enforcement Foundation. To me, our law enforcement are one of the most important aspects of our community, and I trust Sheriff Garcia to make the decisions that are needed, and we're here to help him. As the person that manages the budget, I'm here to support Garcia in what he thinks is best for the Sheriff's Department and making sure that we are safe.
If you win on Election Day, come January 1st, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Besides set up the voicemail and my email, the first thing that I am going to do is, let me think about this for a second.
Take your time.
Where do we even begin? The first thing that I'm going to do is set up a new culture in county government and give that seat back to the people. I'm going to have transparency. I'm going to have accountability. I'm going to be available. I'm going to listen. And people are going to feel that they have a voice again. And that is the most important thing that will happen on day one, is the culture of county government and people noticing right away that it is a new day for Erie County.
Chrissy Casilio, thank you for joining us at Channel 2. Appreciate it.
Thank you.